Growing up, I always wanted a girlfriend, and at the same time, I didn't want a girlfriend because whenever the opportunity would present itself for me to get a girlfriend, like every time a girl would tell me that she liked me, or every time I would hear through the grapevine that a girl liked me, I wouldn't do anything with that information. And I'm not really sure why that is. I knew I wanted a girlfriend because I would see other people in their relationships and I would envy them. I'd be jealous of them. I'd wish that that were me. But at the same time, it's like, I guess I just wasn't willing to settle for anything less than what I truly wanted because I knew that I wanted a real, true relationship. Even at a young age, even in high school and middle school, I knew that I wanted something serious. I knew that I wasn't going to enter into a situation with somebody that I didn't see a future with. And that's a large part of the reason why I never had a girlfriend growing up. Or even to this day, I still have not had a girlfriend. So I took this mentality with me basically up until about last year, late last year. Okay, last year was kind of what I would consider to be my glow up year, particularly in my looks. I felt like puberty treated me pretty well. And people always think I'm capping when I tell them I've never had a girlfriend and I'm a virgin and all of those things, but they don't really know what I was like in high school and before that. And I think that's why it confuses them and throws them off. But the people that I went to high school with, they'll know what I'm talking about. I was not a ladies' man by any means. But like I said, last year was my glow up year. Last year is the year that I really started to become more of myself and try to maximize my potential. And I guess you could say to an extent that I began looks maxing. And a big part of the reason why is because I started working again, so I had the money to invest in my appearance more. Usually when I'm not working and I'm not making enough money to really do the things that I want to do, the first thing that I sacrifice is my appearance. I'll stop getting haircuts as often, I'll stop buying new clothes, just things like that. I start to look dusty. But last year, when I started making money again, I was able to invest in more, self-care products, just things that I could use to better my overall appearance and thus my confidence. And confidence really should not be tied directly to appearance, but that's just the route that I took. So anyways, because I became more confident, last year was also the year that I began dating people. I know I said I never had a girlfriend before and I'm a virgin, but before last year, I had never been on a date before. I don't even think I had ever hung out with a girl like by myself before. And I think a big part of the reason why is because a lot of my friends were like that too. Me and like my core friend group, like the people that I hung out with the most from elementary school through high school, they didn't have girlfriends either. And when they did get girlfriends, they'd stop hanging out with us as much. So it's like girls weren't really much of a talking point for us. We were thinking about sports and video games and things that I feel like kids should be thinking about. But at the same time, I was thinking about girls. I knew deep down that I wanted a girlfriend, but I wanted it to be the right one. And I felt like I wasn't at that level. I felt like, I wasn't in the league of the type of girls that I wanted. And instead of doing something about it or, not believing in the league concept, I just chose to be single. But from about October last year to February this year, I began dating. I dated 3 girls, 3 girls in that time. And none of them worked out, all for various reasons. But I think personally, the reason why none of those situations worked out is because I was lacking in confidence. Like I said, my confidence levels were very shallow. They were all based in my looks. It's good to be confident in your looks, but at the same time, when you wake up with a pimple, or if your hair is looking bad that day, your confidence is completely gone, just like that. So, I feel like I wasn't really projecting confident energy. I wasn't confident in myself. And I feel like they kind of picked up on that. But also, I feel like 2 out of 3 of those girls were girls that I simply wasn't compatible with. Like, they were girls that I saw absolutely no future with. No future whatsoever. In other words, I was contradicting the principles that had gotten me to that point. So there were the first 2 girls. They were not compatible with me at all. One of them wanted something completely different than what I wanted. I was looking for a relationship. Like I said, I don't believe in wasting time with casual situations. It's just not my thing. I don't believe in hooking up, none of that. She wanted something casual. I wanted an actual relationship. Now the next girl, me and her both wanted a relationship. At least that's what she told me, and that's what I told her. Like, we agreed on our first date that that's what we were looking for. But it became evident to me over time that she was talking to multiple men. And now I realize that that's actually a normal thing. Like, I realize that people don't just talk to one person at a time. And that's something that I learned the hard way. Still, personally, to this day, I don't believe in talking to multiple people at a time because it's just a waste of time, in my opinion. If I can't invest my time into the person that I'm talking to, then I shouldn't be talking to them. But anyways, me and her were talking, and she became more and more distant. And eventually, she ended up ghosting me. And obviously, I was hurt over that. I was in my feelings. I was like, borderline red pill men going their own way. But now, looking back on it, I realized that me and her were not compatible in any way. So really, she was doing me a favor. She was doing me a favor by ghosting me because we had no future. And I remember there was a point when I thought to myself, me and this girl have literally nothing in common. And I still decided to pursue the situation. And the reason why is because I was lonely. It's as simple as that. I was lonely. I let that part of me that wanted a girlfriend, that wanted a relationship, overpower the part of me that was okay being single and waiting until I found the right one. Now, like I said, I was still traumatized by those two experiences. And I took that trauma with me into my situation with this third girl. And I've talked about her a lot. Basically, in short, me and her were a very good match for each other. We were very, very compatible. But both of us had trauma that we hadn't really overcame. And I guess you could call it right person, wrong time. But I really don't believe in that anymore. I feel like, there's no such thing as right person, wrong time. It's just wrong person. We didn't meet at the right time, therefore, we weren't meant for each other. And that's okay. Looking back on it, I know that now. But when that situation failed because that trauma resurfaced, I was in a very bad place mentally. That was what pushed me over the edge and made me completely numb. And to me, being numb is worse than being in your feelings and being in pain and crying and all of that, because you just stop feeling. You can't feel anything anymore. You don't feel anger, but you also don't feel happiness. You just live your life devoid of all emotion. And it's not a very pleasant place to be. I'll just put it like that. I was definitely hurt by the situation. That cut me very deep, but I wasn't willing to face my emotions. I wasn't willing to embrace the pain that I was feeling and allow myself to feel the pain. Instead, I suppressed it all and tried to go about my life with this cold-blooded demeanor, like I didn't care anymore and I was just done with women and I was just going to get to the bag. It's like, no, you need to feel that pain. And truth be told, once I allowed myself to feel that pain and go through everything that I went through fully and immerse myself in the grieving process, after that, I was able to develop a new level of insight, a new perspective, a broad perspective of why things happened the way that they did. I realized that had me and her not stopped where we did, we would have developed a toxic relationship because we were not ready to be in a relationship, neither of us. And that was something that I couldn't come to terms with at that point. I felt like if two people like each other, they should be willing to try. And we did try, but it didn't work. It didn't work. And she saw it before I did. She was able to recognize the trauma that she had. I wasn't able to recognize the trauma that I had. But looking back on it, me and her both dodged a really fat bullet because, like I said, we would have entered into a toxic relationship, a relationship built on dependency as opposed to love. And like I said, it took me a very long time to come to terms with this. But I feel like going through the quarantine and not really having anyone to talk to during this time allowed me to do a lot of self-reflection. And I realized that the reason why I could not be in a stable relationship and I couldn't find a stable relationship was not because, girls are just out to get me and I'm not good enough and I need to just avoid women altogether. No. It was because I had a lot of trauma that I hadn't dealt with. Not only the trauma from the first two girls, but the trauma from my whole childhood, not feeling like I was good enough, not loving myself. I didn't have a committed relationship with myself. So how could I expect to find a committed relationship with anyone else? All I could find was a toxic relationship with any of those girls, really. I feel like two people should not come together to heal each other. That won't create a solid foundation for a relationship. All it'll do is create a dependency on each other. And that's exactly what a toxic relationship is. It's when you can't be apart. You feel like that other person is your other half and they complete you and you're not complete within yourself. But if you take some time to develop a relationship with yourself, you realize that you are complete. You are whole and complete within yourself. You do not need anyone outside of you to complete you. If you rely on someone else to give you that sense of completion, you're going to be lonely even when you're with them. You're lacking the primary source of unconditional love in this life, which is unconditional love from yourself. No one can give you the same unconditional love that you can give yourself. Now, am I saying that to say that people are just out to use you for what you have? No, I'm not saying that. Yes, there are people that are out there to use you, but there are also people who like you just because you're you. And it doesn't matter what you have or don't have. They'll stay by your side regardless because they like you. But basically what I'm trying to say is you're the only person that can truly love yourself just for existing. Because if someone else is with you and they like you for you, that means that they like you because you're you. But if you love yourself just based on the fact that you exist, that is true unconditional love. And once you feel that level of love within yourself, that's when you can find love outside of yourself. Or better yet, that's when you can let love find you. And if you feel that sense of completion and you know your worth, then you'll know that even if a situation fails, yeah, you might be disappointed, but you'll know that you're still complete. You didn't lose a part of you. Think about it like this. Imagine if you had $1 million right now in your bank account and someone told you that they wanted to give you another $1 million. You'd be like, shit, that's great. I'll take that $1 million. Thank you. Now, even if they decide later on to not give you that $1 million, yeah, you might be disappointed at first because you just lost out on $1 million, but you still have your million. You're still a millionaire. You're still rich at the end of the day. So even though you might feel that initial disappointment at the loss, you still have that sense of peace in knowing that you're still you, you're still complete, and you're still a very valuable presence on this earth. You got to look at yourself like you're $1 million. You got to think about yourself like that. You have to think highly of yourself. You are the prize. Whether you're a man or a woman, it's not about gender. It's not about gender. You are the prize. You should always think that you're the prize. Because when one person feels like they're the prize, and the other person feels like that person is also the prize, that's how a one-sided relationship is built. And that's where that dependency comes from. And thus a toxic relationship. But if two people who both feel like they're the prize get together, that's when magical things can happen. That's when power couples are built. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to build a power couple. And I had to go through those experiences that I went through and those failures that I went through to get back to this point, but to an even greater extent. Just being comfortable being single and taking my time in situations, not trying to rush things, not trying to force people to commit to me before they even get a chance to know who I truly am. Just allowing things to develop naturally and living my life with peace, knowing that no matter what happens, I'm still valuable, I'm still whole, and I'm still complete.